Gomez-Schempp,
And this is Duke Gomez-Schempp.
and you're listening to a Mexican Crossing Lines on 88.1 FM, KPPPLP Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. You can also find all our past shows on kpppfm.com. I am very happy today to have Pastor Albert Rivera from the Agape Church in Tijuana, Tijuana, Mexico, Baja California. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little flustered. I'm so excited to have this guest on tonight because I have been looking for this pastor for over a month. And I'm so grateful that he came on and that he's taken his time out of his very busy schedule at the Agape Church and Shelter to tell us what is going on with the coordination of this caravan and the harrowing effect of what these activists did to his shelter and to some of the migrants in the caravan. Welcome to the show, Pastor Albert Rivera.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you very much for having me. I'm here in Tijuana at our shelter that we have.
Yeah, we're going to be sharing in the comments of the show. Nemo can drop them in there. All of your contacts so that people can check out the work that you do. You've been doing this work for quite some time in the Tijuana area. Do you want to give folks a little bit of background of what you do at your shelter and what you do for migrants?
Well, actually, we've been here since about 2000, and right now we're working with the immigrants. We have them here, the ones that are coming in the caravan. We help them out so that they can get their numbers and get on the back of the line and wait for their numbers to be called. And also we're helping them, assisting if they want to be legal here in Mexico with their legal work. And we do a little bit of everything: shelter, counseling, because it's not just giving them shelter, but also counseling.
Right. So you were very much involved, and I showed on my last show your interview with Diario Tijuana, in which you talked about an event that occurred after you helped to negotiate for the people that were at the albergue Viento y Marea, at the warehouse shelter, to go to your shelter, the Agape shelter, and you took a contingent of the migrant caravan, basically everyone that was left. You took them to your shelter, and then you had some very serious problems, which included the kidnapping of an unaccompanied minor named Carlos and these American activists from the Caravan Support Network as well. I've already shared that entire interview and translated it with my audience, but I wanted to give folks out there a little idea of what the pastor went through and the risk to his own life that he took in trying to protect this child and in trying to keep his shelter rules and followed. He wanted the people there to follow his rules. Would you talk a little bit about the rules that you gave to everyone that comes to your shelter and what occurred with these activists and the kidnapping?
Yes. Yes. Well, we had our rules here that everyone has to sleep overnight. They have to be, you can't be over 10 p.m. at coming in our shelter. And then, well, there's we don't have no drugs, no drinking, alcohol, and we don't have those rules. There's definitely like no stealing. Everyone that steals, it cannot be here or uses drugs. So we had those were our rules that we had, and as long as they abide by those rules, they were more than welcome. In the beginning, well, I had no problem at all with the immigrants. The problem was with the activists that came,
right?
Because they decided to, when our shelter was here, they wanted to be like security guards and being outside our shelter to be overnight. But we told them no, we didn't want them to be like overnight. And the problem is they started bringing in drugs here to our shelter, and they were giving drugs to the immigrants. So then I had a whole bunch of problems with the immigrants that they were smoking drugs because the the activists were bringing it in, and we had the problem that the kid he's a 14-year-old boy, Carlos, and then when he was here, he had a problem with one of the immigrants, and the immigrants called him a thief. And when that happened, the boy said, "Wait a minute, you immigrants." He said, "Four of them. You four are the ones that are bringing drugs inside here, the shelter, with the activists and everything. And you calling me a thief?" And that's when about 15 people told the boy that he was like a rat. That they call him here like a sapo, like and then they said, you know what happens with sapos? What happens is they get tortured. We kill them, and so they threatened them. So basically, I had to tell them you cannot threaten a minor. What happened is we were negotiating with federal police and with the government, and also with the immigrants, so that they could get out from real close from the border, from the warehouse that they had. And at the end, they did come to our place. So actually, the federal police and the government permitted us to have this underage kid with us. So we needed to protect the boys. So they decided to leave the shelter. I had to call the police officer. And at the end, what happened is some activists to come, and some activists came, and they left. They left with the immigrants here, but they also took the boy. And well, I got worried because the immigrants that threatened the boy, they went they went together with the activists. So I told them I was giving them 3 days to turn in the boy. If they did not bring back the boy, I had to go to the authorities, because the authorities knew that the boy was with us. And I told them we were going to go to the press. And actually, at the end, we went to the press. It came out all over the news here, all over the state, that they took the boy, that we're looking for him. It's a big story. We even went to the Honduras embassy to see if we could do like an Amber Alert for the boy, because we were very, very frightened. So it's a big story.
Well, I just wanted to pause right there to show a newspaper clipping. There was a lot of camera crews around you. This is Carlos from a newspaper. There was camera crews there when the police recovered him a couple of the different times. Here's a video that you did not see from the interview with the Diario Tijuana, where the police come to the shelter after the pastor takes the video with the activist who's trying to stop him from videotaping the small child. It's dark. It's at night. I don't know if you guys remember that part. And the pastor said that a bunch of the immigrants decided they wanted to leave the shelter that night. This is a video of the police talking to the spokesperson for the migrants from the shelter, Viento y Marea. I recognized him. I don't remember his name right this minute, but he's the one talking to the police officer in this video. It's in Spanish, so I will try to translate a little bit of what he's saying as we go here. Here's that video. One moment. Police came to the shelter. How many of you are leaving? About 20. 20 people. Not all of you are going to go. Are you going to Bartal?
Van a un hotel.
No, they're going to a hotel.
Ya van por su medio, por su propio medio.
They're already arranged for a hotel. hotel.
¿Quién va a venir por ustedes?
Who's coming for you?
¿Cómo se llama la muchacha?
Who's coming to pick you up? What's the name?
Hey,
Hey,
Gerard. Jonathan.
Jonathan.
¿Cómo llama la muchacha que va a venir por
What's the
ustedes?
name of the girl that's coming to pick you up?
Espera, ya le consigo.
I'll get you the number and the name in a minute here. That's pretty much it. Now, for those of you who are watching this for the first time, I want to give you a little bit of a summary of what happened. Here's the January 19, 2019 video that is kind of a compilation of some of the different videos the pastor shared with the Diario Tijuana, and tell some of the story. I'll narrate as we go here. Here we go. There's the January 19th video. This is Tijuana. This is a little boy named Carlos that was kidnapped. This is him. This is when the child left with this woman that said that she had the mother of this child on the phone when it wasn't true. Here are some of the activists that are filming the pastor. This is when the child runs out of the court. The pastor followed the child on several occasions to try to get him back. He doesn't want to go to the police. We don't know who that woman is in the pink shirt with him, but she is not his mother. They're trying to convince him to go with the authorities. And he's very upset. He doesn't want to go with the authorities. They're negotiating with him there, and he does kick the officers, and he does fight the officers, as you can see here, because he does not want to go with them. And he's screaming. Pastor, this child looks very, very troubled, and he seemed like they totally brainwashed him and turned him on you, on the shelter. Was he also being given drugs by the activists?
That's the problem that we have, that these activists gives drugs for everyone. Basically, the way that they do, the activist comes, this group of activists, not all activists are the same. Of course. But this group, especially, they bring drugs and they give it to the immigrants, and they give it to everyone. And the problem is when they give these drugs, the people that are good people and everything, the immigrants that are very good in everything, feel intimidated and are very scared and frightened of the immigrants that smoke drugs and everything. So basically, the activist gives drugs to some of the immigrants and take control through the drugs of these immigrants, and the immigrants that use drugs, they take control of the people that are frightened of people that uses drugs. And basically that was my worry about the kid, that he was going with some activists that are using drugs, and also everyone that left the shelter were people that were using drugs. So this is why we even were trying to get like a Amber Alert, and actually right there they were, when Rivera came, he came at least with about 23, 24 activists and also some other immigrants together, and we were just chasing them. Actually, Telemundo was behind me, and they were filming everything, but they made a decision of not broadcasting everything because it was the minor.
Right.
So, but they were filming everything that was happening.
Yeah, you see camera crews and reporters running and following the situation. It looks really chaotic. I remember when you told me, Cindy, these activists from the Caravan Support Network control these immigrants through the use of drugs. They distribute drugs. You mentioned marijuana. You also mentioned crystal methamphetamine being given to the caravan goers, and that those that aren't addicted are terrified of those who are addicted. And this is how this Caravan Support Network has been able to control some of the people within the caravan. Of course, this does not apply across the board, not to all migrants and not to all caravans, but this particular group of people is involved with the current caravans, is involved with migrants that are in the current caravan that is coming here now. I wanted to share the video of the boy when he leaves the court, and I'm going to narrate a little bit, and then I wanted you to comment, because this is very disturbing to me, Pastor. There are two immigrants, there are two migrants that are there following the child also. And you reported to Diario Tijuana that those migrants falsely alleged that the police officers drew their weapons and pointed them at the child. I want to show everyone. The police are in this video too. So I want to show people, because they're trying to catch up with this child. He ran out of the judge's chambers. The child was asked by the judge to speak to him alone because he did not want the child to be intimidated by anyone else, and he escaped the court. So here's that video. One moment, please.
Aquí el juez dio la orden.
The pastor gave the order that the child would be presenting himself, and the child ran away.
La policía está detrás de él porque
the police are following because they want to secure the child.
Ahí están supuestamente
These are the migrants that are following.
Está mintiendo que el oficial dijo que le querían dar un balazo al niño cuando
there's a reporter.
Está haciendo su trabajo. El policía
there's a cameraman. And he said, the pastor says the police are just doing their job. It's not true. They did not point any guns. So, Pastor, would you comment on what this group of immigrants did there? Because there's a lot of lying and you know, when you were filming every video that I saw these activists in, whether it was the woman that was in the dark there saying, what I heard is that you don't feed the migrants and you totally took away their autonomy and you tell them they can't come back to the shelter if they leave to go to work. They're really trying to turn the tables. Then they had this child saying that you had a bunch of children that you were selling to the drug cartel. These migrants are saying that the authorities were pointing their guns. I mean, I've already shown my audience here in the United States, these people are great at creating fake drama, fake news, out of whole cloth. But I wanted your comment on what you make of their lies about the police here.
Well, right there, what happened is when the boy ran out of the courthouse, he was running out, and then the police officer was saying, "Hey, calm down. Why are you acting this way? They just want to talk to you. Calm down, calm down." And then the activist, what she said is, "Oh, the boy's acting that way because you said that you were going to shoot him, He never, the officer never said that. Actually, Telemundo was behind me, and then Synthesis Television was there also. Plus, I was filming. Everyone was there, saw that wasn't the case. Later on, the confrontation, there's part of another video that I didn't send you. But actually, the young boy, 14 years old, he was kind of scared and frightened, and he took out a switchblade on the two officers. And so the boy is very frightened. He needs a lot of help. Basically, you know, when someone comes and wants to apply for political asylum, actually they're going through they went through a trauma, an emotional trauma. So they need special help, special assistance, and everything. And this young boy, actually, he's still missing. By the way, we went. I went. In the beginning, he said he was from Honduras, but it comes out that he was from Guatemala. Mm-hmm. And him being from Guatemala, he was deported about a year ago from Mexico back to Guatemala, and then that he was deported to Guatemala. After this incident happened, and I just came from the embassy, here in Tijuana from Guatemala, and they're saying that the federal police still does not find this boy and don't know where this boy is. So right now they're still looking for the boy. So he needs a lot of help. He needs a lot of love, and he has very strong emotional problems, and he's going like to a big stress that he feels like abandoned by everyone. So he needs a lot of help.
There were a lot of unaccompanied minors with this caravan, and one of the concerns that was raised, because I have shown on my show many videos where activists that are working with River Doherty and working with lawyers from Al Otro Lado who are giving advice to the people in the caravan about asylum seeking, about crossing the border illegally. These people talk about unaccompanied minors a lot. Now we have verification they are giving drugs to these children. Now we have verification that they are exploiting the caravan for their own financial and personal gain. And the concern that is raised is, how many of these vulnerable children do these activists have at their access? And what is your take, Pastor, on the vulnerability of the child's minds, especially while under the influence of drugs, especially given that they are all alone?
Well, that's a big problem that Mexico is facing right now at this present moment with all these immigrants. The problem is that Mexico does not have the intelligence to find out who all these activists is, and the groups that are actually promoting all of this, and who they are. The thing is, there's a big problem here. I'm facing it also in our shelter. When minors come and everything legally, we cannot have no minors without legal authority or with their parents' signature or authorization through the courts and everything. That's how it is also here down in Mexico. Like so right now, let's say right now I have like a 15-year-old girl with a 13-year-old girl. The 15-year-old girl right now, it's 5.5 months pregnant, no mom, no dad. She was out in the street. It was raining, about to lose her baby. I had to take her in, and then I went to the authorities, and I told them, look, this is a young girl and everything, and these don't have enough money to, the government don't have enough money to keep all these children. What they do is they turn them into immigration. They have a place called the YMCA here, and they have them like for a short term, but sometimes they escape from these places. And no orphanage want to take these kids because legally they need authorization, and then also no shelters want to take them in because they need authorization. So now, we're dealing directly with the embassy and with human rights and with United Nations, and now with the Procuraduría, the government, to try to find out so these kids won't be outside in the street, and make it a way legal that they could go at least to orphanage and being taken care of while they're doing their transaction, let's say, for like that. But it's very, very sad, and these organizations are taking advantage. The main problem that I feel, my concern is, here in Tijuana, prostitution is legal. Since prostitution is legal here in Tijuana, all these minors that are coming like that, I mean, a lot of people will be after these kids and everything. So, it's a real big concern. And then, there's some fake lawyers that come, and some lawyers that are doing things illegally and everything. I have people here in my shelter, and the lawyers have lied to them. And what happened is, it's like it's a non-profit. Al Otro Lado, it's a non-profit organization. What they do, they take your picture, the immigrant's picture, and everything, and then they say, okay, I have so many immigrants. I have this immigrant. We need $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to be able to represent them for political asylum. and people just donating money all over and everything, and so it's a big problem down over here. There's no regulations on this matter. The miners are on their own practically, and everyone is scared to take them in and try to help them out legally. So right now, the immigration said they're doing an evaluation to find out how they could do it, and they're trying to do it through human rights organization trying to help these kids.
Wow, it seems like a monumental problem, which leaves these children in a very, very vulnerable and easily exploitable position. Could you explain to us what your knowledge is of how the caravan coordinates transportation from the southern border all the way to Tijuana? How are these lawyers, how are these migrants getting transported? How is this priest that you told me about, Father Salesiano, intervening to help get them transported? And why are they ending up in Tijuana?
Well, actually, they end up down here at Tijuana because the immigrant know that like California has like sanctuary cities, so they feel a lot safer going through California because they're sanctuary cities. But with this, they go. These activists go all the way to Honduras. They go to Guatemala. They go all over, and they help them out, and they're promising them free attorney. If they come, that the attorneys will be available to represent them. So they give them legal counseling, and actually, they even practice law here when they're not supposed to be practicing law here in Mexico. And so with the priest, what happens is Celestiano. What happened is, let's say the immigrants come, let's say to Mexico City, and they want to get them. They want to get all these immigrants away from Mexico City, so they make a deal. They say, okay, we could. The priest goes and talks to the governor, and when they talk to the governor, they said, look, I have 7,000. We have all these 7,000 immigrants that are coming and everything, and if they're going to stay through your state, they're going to stay a long time here. You got to pay shelter, board, a place for them to stay, and so it'll be a lot cheaper. Give me 100 buses. If you give me 100 buses and everything, I could move them out of your state and go to the next state and everything. So basically, that's how it is. Celestiano, he goes down and speaks to the governor and everything. He said, you don't want this problem in your state. It's going to be a little bit problem. It's going to cost a lot more money if you just leave them in your state little by little. If you leave them here, it's going to cost more money. So it's much better for you just to give me all these buses, pull everyone up to the next borderline, up to the next state. Then they talk to the other governor of the next state. And when they talk to the governor of the state, they make that deal also. Okay, just give me so many buses up to the next state, and you're going to save a lot of money. But the problem is that at the end, they end up here in Tijuana. There's nowhere else to negotiate and go. So this is where all these immigrants got stuck at. The problem is that all these lawyers, like El Otro Lado and everything, they get people and they're promising them legal papers, documentation for political asylum, even the minors. So the minors believe that they're going to be able to be legally into the United States and everything. So that's why so many people are coming, because they feel they have free lawyers, and what they do is they do fundraising. If you go down to El Barretal is where you get your number, so you could get on the back of the line. If you go down to El Barretal, you will see at least 8-10 people from Al Otro Lado and some other representatives and everything, and people that are just getting their number for political asylum. They said, hey, are you going to apply for political asylum? Oh, do you have an attorney? Oh, I could be your attorney. We could be your attorney free and everything. We will help you. We will support you and everything. And they get all the documentation, take pictures, and then later on they do like fundraising and everything and represent people. And the problem is that sometimes they even be marrying people false. That's another problem.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a minute. But you told me that they tell them the representation is going to be free, but it isn't really free, is it?
No, 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 it's not free because basically what they do is they go down to the website and they put all these names up there that they have all these immigrants that they need an attorney, but you need $4,000, $3,000 to represent them down in court. So basically, it's like they're getting paid. They're getting paid. It's not like if it's really a nonprofit that's really doing it like that. And the persons that are there at the border saying if they want to, if they have a number or something, they're getting paid for each customer or each person that they have. So basically, it's a big problem. It's a big organization. This is very, very huge, more than anyone thinks.
Yes, it's true. And with the problem of transporting them all the way to the border and just kicking the can down the road in these negotiations where they say, hey, you don't want these people in your state because it's going to cost you a lot of money, and you're going to have to shelter them and feed them, and you're going to have more security, more police, everything. So instead, why don't you pay for some buses to send them to the next state, and then it can be their problem. And then it just keeps kicking the can down the road, giving the problem to somebody else. But at the end of the day, the problem is still there. The problem doesn't go anywhere.
Well, at the end, everything ends up with us here having our shelters and everything, and we're the ones looking out for them. I don't mind, the Bible states that we need to receive strangers and everything, and that people have even received strangers, and if they were angels in the past and everything. And actually, some of these, a lot of the immigrants that I have, for me, they're like angels, a lot of them. But some that are together with these activists are, for me, they're like fallen angels too. So there's a little bit of everything.
Right. Now, I wanted to talk about the Al Otro Lado group a little bit more in detail, because you had told me that they were marrying people in these fake ceremonies, fake marriages that produced some documentation. Here's a workshop, asylum workshop at Enclave Caracol that you. Oh wait, sorry, I skipped a whole bunch of stuff. I'm sorry. Let's show the lawyer that you talked about. You knew her name. You told me Al Otro Lado's lawyer, Nora Phillips, was the one that they deported from Guadalajara because she was going there to actually meet with the caravans to try to convince them to come to Tijuana.
Yeah, basically that's what they do. Miss Phillips was going to go from LA all the way to Guadalajara, and actually the new caravan was underway, and they were going to stop by around there. And actually, she has her personnel and everything, and tell them there's some attorneys that are available and everything, and that one of her offices down over here in Tijuana. So basically, there's a big organization how they organize, but the United States found out what's really going on and everything, and that's why there was like an alert on her passport. And Mexican officials found out what's happening also, and they had to deport her down to the United States. But when they went down to the United States, she has a lot of people that are backing her up. I read a piece of a newspaper down over there that someone that's running for city councilman for the 14th district is supporting her 14%. So now even politics is involved.
Oh, yeah.
So that's even a little bit worse.
Yeah, that's very disturbing. And you told me that this lawyer and the other lawyers at Al Otro Lado were closely working with the activists that kidnapped Carlos and that were giving drugs to the people in the shelter. I wanted to show that you did report this to the DIF, which is the organization that cares for children in Mexico, correct?
Yeah, we actually we filed a report down with DEEF, with the authorities, and also we just went down just a couple of days ago with the federal government, also filing a report of false marriages that they're doing here. But they're saying that El Otro Lado is actually not registered here, and Mexico is not registered. They say it doesn't exist.
Right.
But it does exist, but they're doing it illegally.
Right.
That's a big problem. I have someone here with us that they married false, and he came and brought me he brought me over here their marriage certificate and brought some paper that they were married and everything. I even did we even did like a cake here and celebrated and everything. And then when we checked the paperwork and everything, and we went to a Mexican attorney, they said, "Oh, all of this is fake. This is not correct." We went down to register recorder's office to registro civil to find out if that's legal and everything. All the government say that's illegal, that they're not really married here in Mexico or nowhere else. And the thing is that they filed as a marriage person. What happened is this, that they're coming from Honduras. They've been together for 4 years, but when they're coming down from Honduras, the husband, or the one they're not married, but the man,
the male,
they were living together. His life was threatened. He's a really serious case and everything. But when they went down with these attorneys say, "Wait a minute, he qualifies, but she doesn't qualify. So for both of you to qualify, you need to marry. So I want to marry you guys. We're going to marry you so both of you could qualify," even though, they've been together and everything. So they married them like that, and they did the file with immigration, and they put them, actually, their number's about to come up, I think about 10 more days. And actually, they have them as a husband and wife. But if immigration in the United States say, "Okay, let me see your registration or your certificate from the government," there's none at all. So it's a big legal problem. And the thing is that some other immigrants, they've been doing the same thing, and they have been deported because they found out they're not really married.
Oh,
so this couple, they determined to file a police report here in Mexico and also report to the United States. "Look, the attorney told me to do this. And this is why my paperwork is like this." But they're actually working out so that they could really get married here in Tijuana right now, but not with the fake paperwork that the attorneys of El Otro Lado gave them.
Wow. It's stunning to me, the lack of ethics in this lawyers group with Al Otro Lado, that they would be working with activists that are basically trafficking drugs to the caravan, that are involved in kidnapping a minor that is unaccompanied, and that they are actively misguiding people, giving them horrible legal advice to falsify wedding documents. I want to show my audience the information that you sent me to verify this, because I'm a Mexican crossing lines, so I always like to show the evidence. Here is the Honduran male that the pastor was speaking of, for you to look at his ID, Honduran. And I've redacted his information. But you can see his picture and the first name. That is enough for you to be able to see that it's the same person throughout what I'm about to show you. Here is the woman, the female. And you can see these are IDs from Honduras. Now, these are the Mexican visitor visas that both of them received. You can see there, this is from the United States of Mexico, and it says visitor. And if you go up, it says for humanitarian reasons. Keep going. We'll scroll there and you'll see the other person. And you see there that it's the same person that we showed you, Gasper, from the previous Honduran ID. Now I'm going to show you the asylum seekers workshop where these folks went at Enclave Caracol. Here on the Mexican Crossing Lines, we have talked about this location where they frequently had the lawyers, the activists, and even asylum seekers come together for meetings. This is a flyer from one of those workshops in which they give people asylum advice. And it says, Taller de Asilo Americano, charlas gratuitas con abogados todos los días en Enclave Caracol a las 1 de la tarde. So this is an American lawyers group giving workshops on asylum daily at Enclave Caracol at 1 p.m. And it says gratuito, which means it's free. Come one, come all. There's a map and there's directions to get you to Enclave Caracol from the shelter, so that you know, if you're new to Tijuana, there's even a map for you to get to that place. And that's exactly where Gaspar and his girlfriend went. Here's the intake form that was filled out for them. This one, as you can see, it asks some basic questions. They're trying to assess whether or not the people have a claim for asylum. Does the person qualify for asylum even or not? And here's the second page of the claim here. If you'll notice, if you want to go back and take a look at this more detainedly, you're more than welcome to do it. But you will notice that on the intake form, it does question maybe. It says maybe this person has a claim for asylum. Here's the intake lab for Gasper and Ruth. So you can see these two people were at this lab. I've redacted a lot of the information, but I wanted you to see they got their little pieces of paper that they went to this workshop. These two individuals whose IDs I just showed you. And here is the declaration of common law marriage that the lawyers gave these people to sign as proof that they were already married when they were not married. They're saying in this declaration, under perjury of law, basically, that everything they're saying is absolutely true, but it's not. And that's under the advice of American lawyers from al otro lado. Here's the second page of that declaration that was signed by these individuals, swearing that they have a common law marriage 4 years long in Honduras. And then, of course, here's page 3 of that declaration, which shows you the names of both of the individuals who I have showed you the IDs for. You see their names, signatures right there. And finally, I want to show you the certificate of marriage that they just invented, because this is not a legal certificate of marriage. There's the signatures at the bottom that match the identities, the names, the first names of the two people in the original identifications that the pastor shared with me. And you just told everyone that you went with these two people to go and find out if everything was legal, and it was not legal, and that there are more people, al otro lado lawyers, have done this too. This is putting those people at risk of being jailed even for lying to the authorities, for lying in their asylum case. It's possible that they could be denied their asylum case based on committing that kind of fraud at the request of the lawyers, and that they could even get deported. Is that not the case that some of these folks are facing, Pastor?
Yeah, that's the problem. These Jasper and and the lady that he's with, he said he knows people that just because fake marriages, they've been deported. So he said, I want to come out right straight and truth with the United States and also here in Mexico. I really did believe that they were marrying me legally and everything, and we were very happy and everything. But then when I saw the paperwork, I noticed that something wasn't right. So I had to go to the authorities here in Mexico and everything, and I just feel so bad, that things like that, someone that really does qualify, that can go to the United States, but for something false that the attorney advised and everything, he could be sent back, So this is why I'm like speaking out and saying that all these things that are happening, and the thing is that there's a very strong coordination. There's also there by Enclave a reporter from Los Angeles Times, very close there, and everything. He has interviewed me, and he did. Like a documentary of everything that happened, and also with him there, told me, there's a lot of things he cannot say because he's a little bit frightened of saying it. It's a reporter from LA Times.
Wow.
So it's a little bit scary because all these things that happening, especially with the boy that was here. He was saying that these activists were giving drugs to these immigrants. So there's a cause why they took the boy away. There's a motive. If this boy says that they're giving drugs and everything, and these activists are doing fundraising and getting money and giving more money to help the immigrants, and this boy is saying, wait a minute, with the money you're donating and everything, they're giving it down to the immigrants with drugs and everything, nobody's going to want to donate no money for this organization. So, and then the boy is missing and everything, and up to date right now, the boy is missing. Nobody knows where he's at. So there's a big motive.
Oh my God, that is so terrifying that they've made this boy disappear, and they definitely have a motive to keep him silent and for him not to be able to get rehabilitated or found. I want to show everyone one more time a copy of this marriage certificate that was false. I have redacted the names of the individuals in the marriage certificate, but I want you to see the names of the persons. One of them is an al otro lado lawyer who married these individuals. You can see it says the celebration was by Reverend somebody. I can't really tell very well. Can you read that name, Duke? Do you remember the names of the reverend that celebrated the marriage for these two individuals?
No, I have it somewhere written down, but I don't have it here with me. It's a female.
Right, and then there's a witness there as well. But here's a picture. So if you recognize the signatures there, you recognize who they are, then maybe you can send me a message and let me know. But here are the individuals getting married. This is their wedding picture. It was all false. They weren't really married. They would like to be, but they're not. And here are the two people that were on that certificate. One of them is the person that officiated over the fake wedding, and one of them is the witness to the fake wedding. So we can ID these folks and we can know what it is that they're capable of. Now, you have an update on a federal police report you filed just today or yesterday, right?
Yeah, a couple of days ago, we just filed it with Gaspel, and they said it cannot proceed here because it's not like a fraud, because he did not give money out of his own pocket. And also, they're saying that they're fighting a police report against false attorneys and everything, but that law firm doesn't exist here in Mexico. So they're saying it doesn't exist. But everyone knows that they're active and they're working here, but the federal government don't want to do follow-up on it.
Well, it sounds to me like there are a number of illegal things that these lawyers are doing, that they are involved in, that both Interpol and the Customs and Border Patrol, as well as Homeland Security, as well as the Bar Association for the state that these lawyers are in, which is California, if indeed they're licensed there, because they might be licensed somewhere else. I don't know. I know that Nicole Ramos used to be in Alabama. Maybe that's where she's licensed and she's pro-hawking through somebody in California. I don't know. But as a paralegal, this is very disturbing to me, because one thing that I know is that the people that started Al Otro Lado, specifically I'm speaking of Nicole Ramos, I showed on my show, she was not an immigration attorney. She did not have a background in asylum law. In fact, she said in the post that I showed everyone about how the organization began 4 years ago that she had zero knowledge of asylum law. Why are lawyers that have never practiced in this field giving advice to people on things that they're clearly, from the example that the pastor just gave us today and others he says are like it, legal advice that is very terrible and possibly illegal? Likely illegal for them, not just for the migrants, but for the lawyers to have done. I hope that this story is picked up by folks that are in positions of authority to both denounce and report the activities of these lawyers of Al Otro Lado, so that migrants are not put at risk and their cases for asylum, their genuine cases for asylum, are not damaged. Because some of these people are truly fleeing conditions where if they were returned to their country, they could be killed. And it is lawyers giving bad advice, wrong advice, or illegal advice, like the ones in Al Otro Lado, like the stories that the pastor has told us about, that could be putting their lives in jeopardy. Not to mention the fact that working with activists who openly distribute drugs like crystal meth and marijuana to control the migrant caravan is simply unethical. I don't understand how these folks have not been arrested yet. Pastor, is there some kind of assistance, some kind of support that people can give to you? What is it that you need as a pastor, as the head of this shelter, from Americans, from Mexicans that are watching? Saludos a todos los que nos estén viendo en México. How can we support your work?
Well, the most that we need is just your prayers. We're working and dealing with all kinds of things, and trying to see with different local government and everything, trying to clear up everything and try to do everything in order. The most that we need is just your prayers. Your prayers. Thank God that we're doing very well. We have several churches that are supporting us very strongly, and every immigrant that we have here, we're doing very well. I have about 45% of our shelter. These immigrants are working. So right now, you're not going to believe me the way that this house got clean, that our shelter got clean. They were bringing so much drugs here that these activist groups actually had a big problem with the drug lords here, because the drug lords found out that they were distributing drugs here, and the drug lords were the ones that kicked them out of here. So it was that bad of the situation. How with these with these activists, that some people that sell drugs here was saying, wait a minute, we see there's a lot of distribution from drugs, and we're the only ones that are in charge around this area and everything. And then some immigrants, the activists, they were like in a 24-hour watch outside our shelter just for security, And then even the drug lords came out with guns and everything, and the activists started running and left on their vehicles. And then later on, called up the people that they were distributing and giving drugs here to at our shelter. Called them up and said, "This place is too dangerous where the pastor's at. We're going to rent a hotel for you guys. Anyone that wants to leave." And about 50 of them left my shelter because they found a hotel for them. I mean, that's how bad the situation was, you know. And, well, thank God that everything now, it's real fine at our location, you know. And we were thank God, you know, for me, it's like God protected me and everything, because if it was going to be a problem with the drug lords here and everything, I could have got killed. People from our church and our shelter could have got injured and everything. So, you know, God really worked in mysterious ways. I would never would have imagined that that something like this would have happened with us, and that's how the bad people left. But thank God, you know, we're doing fine and everything. So we just need all your prayers, the most prayers that you could give. We need them all the prayers we could get, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Pastor. You've really elucidated a lot of information. I wanted to share one last video before you go, in case there is anything more that you can add, because I'm going to show the video where you confronted River Doherty, the guy that was driving one of the vehicles. He was the one in the WhatsApp group that you were included in, saying he took the child, he had the child, he was the kidnapper of the child, and he was negotiating with you because he didn't want to give the child back. You told the story where you gave them 3 days. You said, "Give the child back or I'm going to the cops." And he was negotiating with you, trying to get you to leave the building, to risk your life, to go see and talk to the child. They wanted to negotiate with you with them in the room. You did not agree to any of these things. And finally, they decided to bring a large group of activists with the boy into your office, all of them filming you while the child made crazy accusations, while the activists made accusations of you to try to discredit you, so that you would stop demanding that they return the child that they kidnapped. Here's that video.
Well, yes, but yeah.
Go ahead, Pastor.
Yes, the only thing that they did not know that at the same time that they were filming me and doing that, behind me I had Telemundo that was visiting our shelter, but they had a very, very small phone, not those big cameras.
Right.
So Telemundo was filming everything that they were doing it and the way that they were doing it, and that I wanted to call the authorities to find out and put everything clear about the boy, but they took off like running and everything, and they started accusing me. But I had Telemundo that was filming everything what was going on. So later on, they found out that Telemundo had the recordings and everything, so they calmed down on us. But you know, that happens. You know, the thing is, right now, I just need everyone's prayer and everything. We want to do everything correctly. We really want to help these immigrants that are here as much as we can, so that they could get legal status, let it be here in Mexico, let it be in the United States. But we want to do everything in order, according to the law and everything, as much as we can.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's that video of River in the vehicle, and you're filming them and calling them out. Here it is.
Aquí estamos,
We're here.
aquí está el niño.
This is
que
the child
se había desaparecido.
that had disappeared. Please stop filming, the boy said.
Ahorita va a venir la
And he covered up the
policía, se lo va a
camera.
llevar porque ha sido buscado.
The police are coming because
Aquí está
this
el
child
hombre
is
que
being
se lo
sought
llevó.
after.
Ya yo le había llamado la atención.
I had
me
already
llamó él
talked
por teléfono,
to this man
que si
over
se
the
tenía
phone and
que ir a
told him
Estados Unidos,
he
que yo
needed to
le
return the child. He was saying that
¿Sí o
he
no?
wondered whether he
Ahorita
needed to
mandó
leave the
unas
country.
mandó unas personas acá a nuestro albergue que me trayera al niño, que el niño diga que no está secuestrado. Le
They
dije que
brought the
venía la
child to
policía,
tell
se
me that
echaron
he
a correr.
wasn't kidnapped.
Se metieron adentro de un taxi.
And then they took off and got into a cab.
Le dije al taxi que ahorita venía la policía.
And I told the taxi driver, the cops are coming.
Llegó este hombre.
And then this man arrived.
Le dicen River.
His name is River.
Vino River, vino en un carro y se lo montó adentro del carro y se lo llevó.
And they got in a car with him, with a child, and they left.
En sí, no es la manera.
It's not the way of doing things, not the correct way to do things. The child was left in our custody by the police. This is the situation that we're experiencing here. This is the vehicle. Here are his license plates. Here's another activist filming me that's with them. Here are other activists over here. And then there's a red truck, and he shows the license plates of the red truck. And the man inside the truck covers his face. Would you like to comment about that? Because they were yelling something. It was very hard for me to hear what the woman was saying. She kept saying, no es cierto, de la policía, quién sabe qué. And I couldn't really hear what she said. And of course, River was just saying, falso, falso, which means, false, false. Can you comment, please?
Yeah. Well, with River, we had several conversations and everything. He called me by phone. And when we came out on live television here, okay, we're looking for this child because they did not turn the boy in 3 days. We came out in the state here on television, all the state, and put also this girl, Stephanie. She took the boy, and so we said we're looking for the boy. They took this boy. And then he called me up when he saw that everything came out alive on all over the state here in Baja California. He said, Pastor, do I need to leave down to the United States, or can I stay here in Mexico? I said, I don't know how Mexican authorities work or anything. I cannot tell you to stay. I cannot tell you to leave. But basically, we already announced it and everything, and they're looking for the child. So basically, what happened is the boy went down. We spoke down to the authorities, to the Children Protective Agency, DEEF, and we made our declaration there. The boy was sent down to DEEF, like juvenile hall. From there, from juvenile hall, what happened? They turned him into immigration. And when they turned him into juvenile hall, the federal police came down to our shelter 4 days later and told me that the boy escaped from DEEF. If we know anything about it, we went to social media with the WhatsApp. Has anyone seen the boy? Someone answered and said, oh, we saw the boy at the YMCA. He's down at the YMCA. So I went down to DEEF, social services, for protection of the boy, and I told them, okay, on social media and with the activists, they're saying that they saw the boy at the YMCA, and then they told us, well, what happened is we turned the boy into immigration. Immigration took the boy to YMCA, and the boy escaped from the YMCA, and this is the date right now that the boy is missing. I went to the embassy, and the embassy told me that they don't know anything about the boy. The last thing that they heard from the federal government was that the boy escaped from the YMCA, and they've been in contact with 3 levels of government, municipal, state, and federal, and no one at this present moment knows anything about the boy.
Oh, my God. That is terrifying. We will be keeping both your shelter and church and this child in our prayers. I hope that you will update us if you find out anything. I wanted to mention that in addition to those 2 vehicles, for those of you that know how to run plates in the United States and can DM me information about whose vehicles those were that you saw in that video, just go back, stop the video, and then let me know if you find anything on those plates, folks. Here's one more that I think you need to have. In the video that was in the original interview with Diario Tijuana, where the pastor is filming the very first activist that showed up after the boy's life was threatened and was arguing with the pastor and lying about the care the pastor was giving to the people at the shelter. She was standing in front of a bunch of people behind her. There was more activists behind her, and there was a white vehicle. We managed, I think, to get the plates from that vehicle as well. It's California license plate 6EVY443. That's California plate 6EVY443. I think that's what those plates say. I hope that returns some information or additional information into who all else might be involved. In addition to that, the pastor's been generous enough to share conversations from those WhatsApp. So I'm going to try to identify as many of these other activists as possible. As always, it's been an incredible pleasure talking to you, Pastor. He's from Pastor Albert Rivera from the Agape Church and Shelter in Tijuana, Mexico. Thank you for being with us. We'll have you on again, I'm sure, very soon. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.